Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 15 through 16. O Yahweh, thou knowest, remember me, and visit me, and revenge me of my persecutors. Take me not away in thy long suffering. Know that, for thy sake, I have suffered rebuke. Thy words were found, and I did eat them. And thy word was unto me the joy and rejoicing of mine heart. For I am called by thy name, O Yahweh, Elohim of hosts.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, do Yah remember me?
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim, for Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23 verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3 verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Lithonia, Georgia. Today we're going to deal with salvation and a few things that we have to end up losing along the way. One of my teacher's favorite quotes was, "Salvation without sacrifice is not known in Scripture." It was stated by the apostles, "We have forsaken all. What shall we therefore receive? Our fathers offered goats and calves, for the which our Elohim was displeased, because it did nothing for the conscience." Psalms 51 and verse 16 says, "For you desire not sacrifice, else would I give it. You delight not in burnt offering." The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit, and a broken and a contrite heart, O Elohim, you will not despise. Let's begin today's sermon in Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10, and we're going to start that at verse 1. See, our forefathers believed, or they understood the setup of the law. The issue was that setup of the law that had us offering goats and calves. It didn't really do anything for the conscience of man, even though man was more connected to nature at that point. Man was more connected to the loss of an animal and what that meant. But over time, it just became a thing for us to partake in to get right with our Elohim. But from the beginning, he was always trying to get us to feel that in a more heartfelt way. Hebrews chapter 10, and let's start that at verse 1.
For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offered year by year continually, made the comers thereunto perfect.
Right, because after we get accustomed to something and now we start planning for it. All right? Well, I'm going to get 2 sheep and a goat because I plan on doing this thing here next month. Go ahead.
For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers, once purged, should have had no more conscience of sins. But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins every year. For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he says, Sacrifice and offering you would not, but a body have you prepared me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, you have had no pleasure.
Although that was the setup and that was what we had to do until a better sacrifice was found. See, if you read this and you look at just this part without dealing with the entire story, you'll get the notion that, okay, sacrifices are completely done away with. The sacrifices are changing in nature, not being done away with. Go ahead.
Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me, to do your will, O Elohim. Above, when he said, Sacrifice and offering and burnt offerings and offering for sin you would not, neither had pleasure therein, which are offered by the law. Then said he, Lo, I come to do your will, O Elohim. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. By the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Yahshua HaMashiach once for all.
Right, the offering. It says sacrifice and offering. Even when it talked about Yahshua, it's talking about an offering. Now he's having a different kind of offering. So this is what gives some the belief that, hey, all of this is completely done away with. This is why people feel confident in saying things like being nailed to the cross. Because they say, oh, okay, we don't have to worry about any of that anymore. Go ahead.
And every priest stands daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices which can never take away sins. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of Elohim.
All right, now we have to remember this part because this is a foundation situation, right? This is a foundation statement. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of Elohim. All right, go ahead.
From henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. For by one offering he has perfected forever them that are sanctified. Wherefore the Holy Spirit also is a witness to us. For after that he had said before, This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, says the Adonai. I'll put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them.
Right. So a lot of people believe that they are already under this new covenant. The new covenant still has laws. But when we talk about these laws, he says write those laws into their hearts and in their minds. Now we're talking about spiritual sacrifices then. If the law is in your heart and your mind, I don't need to wear a fringe, because the whole purpose of the fringe was to remind me to keep the law. I don't wear a fringe because I have to. I wear it because I like to. But I don't have to. Because my drive to follow my Elohim is not connected to the thing that's on my shirt. What happens if something happened and my shirt get ripped off? Do I now not remember the law of my Elohim? Am I now not subject to the law of my Elohim because my shirt came off? Go ahead.
And their sins and lawlessness will I remember no more. Now where remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin. Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Yahshua, by a new and living way, which he has consecrated for us through the veil, that is to say, his flesh. And having an high priest over the house of Elohim.
A high priest, once again, you have this setup that Yahweh has put together. Even when he orchestrates a change, it follows the setup of the original foundation. And if you didn't go back far enough to understand that foundation, you don't really understand what's taking place right now. Go ahead.
let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is.
And we know that that happens, that people get accustomed to being able to come to the little house, the little sanctuary that Yahweh has given us, and they begin forsaking the assembling of us together. You can tell by how they operate. When we first hear the word, we hear it with joy, we move with joy. A little time later, we start at 1, folks show up at 1:30. We're supposed to be doing this, folks over there. What's happening? They're forsaking the assembling of ourselves together because they believe that it will always be there. Once Yahweh makes a change, now they want to show how serious they are. You had already started forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. Go ahead.
But exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching. For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remains no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation, which shall devour the adversaries. He that despised Moshe's law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much sorer punishment suppose you shall he be thought worthy, who has trodden underfoot the Son of Elohim, and has counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and has done despite unto the Spirit of grace.
Right. We receive that baptism. We become born again. We walk for a little while, and then after a minute, we go right back into walking the way we did before. Go ahead.
For we know him that has said, vengeance belongs unto me. I'll recompense, says the Adonai. And again, the Adonai shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living El. But call to remembrance the former days, in which after you are illuminated, you endured a great fight of afflictions, partly whilst you were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions, and partly whilst you became companions of them that were so used.
Right. Being born again is a whole spiritual battle. You have to, when you born physically, you have to learn how to walk. Well, you fall a few times when you learn how to walk. You have to learn how to eat. You dribble on yourself a few times when you learn how to eat. Well, you got to give yourself space to be able to do that spiritually, but keep on going. You don't fall one time and say, you know what, that's it. I ain't getting up no more. I'm just going to stay down here. Go ahead.
For you had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that you have in heaven a better and an enduring substance. Cast not away therefore your confidence, which has great recompense of reward. For you have had need of patience, that, after you have done the will of Elohim, you might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come, and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him.
Right, and all it takes is a setback for us to draw back. Once we get chastised, once we rightfully so, chastised for something that we did, now we draw back. Now we're offended. Then Yahshua says that's something that I can't use. So he might bring some offenses your way, because he want to see if you are actually usable. Go ahead.
But we are not of them who draw back onto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul.
All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 20. Because something was said, and it was a part of a foundation. As it is written, let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. So then we have foundations that no matter what we think, feel, and believe, we can't alter those by what we think we understand. Matthew chapter 20, and I want to read verses 20 through 28.
Then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping him and desiring a certain thing of him. And he said unto her, What will you? She says unto him, Grant me that these my two sons may sit, the one on your right hand and the other on the left, in your kingdom.
All right, now, this is a question that at this point, she may not even understand how arrogant the statement is. First of all, there's 12 disciples, right? Mm-hmm. But she only wants her boys on the left and the right. Sometimes arrogance operates in a way that it doesn't even know what it is because it's accustomed to acting that way. And this causes an issue because here you go with these other 10, so what we supposed to sit? But the foundation breakup gets bigger than that. Keep reading.
But Yahshua answered and said, You know not what you ask.
You don't even know what you asking. Go ahead.
Are you able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with?
You don't understand what it takes to sit in that seat. So you're looking at what honor it may come from sitting in that seat, but you don't understand what it takes, what you got to give up, what you got to sacrifice to sit in that seat. See? You think it look cute to sit in that seat, but you got to pay to sit in that seat. You don't even understand what you're asking. Go ahead.
They say unto him, We're able. And he says unto them, You shall drink indeed of my cup, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them for whom it is prepared of my Father.
Now, pause. In the beginning, after he offered his own blood, he sat down on the right hand of Elohim. How the hell you gonna sit on his right and his left and he sit on somebody's right? But you see what arrogance do? Arrogant is so out there, it don't consider any of the setup before them. She think the setup began when her boys started. Nah, boo-boo. That was a setup way before your boy was ever conceived in his daddy's mind before he met you. There was already a setup before you even found out about this. This is what arrogance does. Arrogance tried to completely change the whole setup. Do you understand? The entire foundation of heaven has to change for how she wants this to be. You understand? Yahshua can't sit next to Yahweh if her boys has to sit on his left and right. That means he got to move over. Who the hell are your boys? Now your boys are under him. You don't get to sit. Now Yahshua got to move over? We don't even consider that when we step in an arrogant place where we ain't got no business standing. You just ask the Creator to redo the entire makeup of heaven for you. That's why he said, you ain't know what you asking. You don't know enough to understand the question that you yourself asked. Now you got to rattle that around. How can you understand my answer if you don't even understand your question? You notice he didn't really bother answering that, right? Why? You don't understand the question. How can you understand the answer? I'm supposed to spend the next 10 years explaining to you the foundation so I can answer this? Lady, step on. If your boys do what they're supposed to do, your boys gonna be in a good place. Step on. Did you finish that?
And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation.
Now it done started a whole melee. See? Go ahead.
Against the two brethren. But Yahshua called them unto him and said,
Now he got to be peacemaker. What the priest do? Stand in the battles of controversy. Sometimes, though, when you're trying to cause peace in between your brothers, you know, sometimes you get hit. Sometimes you stand in the middle as the peacemaker, and you the only one with a bloody lip. I don't know why y'all show lip big.
Cephas and old Johanna don't here fight. Yeshua stepped in the middle, he popped him right in the face.
He wasn't in the fight. The peacemaker ended up getting it. Go ahead.
Yahshua called them on to him and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Elohim came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many.
Right. But to give his life for a ransom for many. He's got a sacrifice that he has to offer up, which is himself. But he has to sit there and explain to them, all right, hold on. Y'all calm down. Because they at one another because of this question. Sometimes we desiring a little bit too much without considering, hey man, there's other people in the room that want some things too. You see his food in there? Everybody ain't ate yet, and you on plate number 3? Hey, bro, don't you think them people right there want to eat? How about let's wait till they finish eating? And then you ask, is there some more? And it don't matter whatever it is that we get into, when you want to consume all of it. I remember, see, when you start talking about foundation, you know, you have these things where, you know, some people have been around a little while, some people have been around longer, and there's a few of us that was around when from the very beginning, you know. Praise Yahweh for our choir, but this choir has gone through a lot of things to exist, from all out sabotage, sabotaging the mics, sabotaging the speakers, sabotaging everything to a beginning where the question was,
everybody just sit down and I'll stand up front and sing.
what?
The choir sit down, I'll stand up in the front and they all just look at me.
What? What the hell kind of choir is that? So you gonna be the choir and they just the choirettes? Hey man, check something else. Go ahead, bro. You had something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, you talk about the things you asked. Remember the JW say they was the 144 till the numbers got too big.
Right. Everybody want to sit in this seat that they don't really understand what the cost is to sit in that seat. We don't even understand that sometimes our requests are absolutely arrogant. It says when you come to a place, sit in a low seat. Who comes into a place? It's your first time coming into place, and you see the seat up there in the front.
You know what, I'm gonna sit up there.
Don't you think that might be somebody's seat? You know, like somebody who like probably helped put this place together? Why would you go sit there? There has to be some serious arrogance going on for you to even attempt to do something like that. Did you finish that, bro?
Yes.
Let's go to Yohanan chapter 20. John chapter 20. See, sometimes the things that we have to sacrifice, see, you can give a lamb, goats, calves, but you know that it don't change that right there. It don't change you wanting to have everything for yourself. It don't change you not being considerate of your brother. The offering of the goat didn't do that. So you got to do something else to get to that point. You got to sacrifice something else to do that. You ever watch them things on Unsung, and they be talking about your favorite band, and you find out how much they were fighting because everybody wanted all the damn songs? Bro, this a group. How in the hell you gonna get all the songs? I want all of them. That one perfect for me. You know what? This one perfect for me. You know what? I got a feeling that every damn song is perfect for you. Why? The arrogance. You don't even know it's growing in there. It's growing in there. And you look up and you find out, my God, they was fighting the whole time. You saw them on stage, boy, they had the little dance step, boy. You said, boy, they getting down. Boy, they were fighting as soon as the curtain came down. They was at each other. I could have did the doo-wop better than you. What? They fighting over the doo-wop? Right. Oh, that unsung, boy. I might be trying to watch one of them and 3 of them go by. I was like, I'm still sitting here. You mean what? They did what? That was my favorite song. Yeah, watch one of them where the guy came up with the song Freak Out. Mm-hmm. He was on his way to go to a club. It was, what that club, 51, whatever that was they had that was famous, all the stars used to go. And they said something to him and it wasn't Freak Out, it started with an F. He tried to get in the door and he said, yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting Madonna here. And they said, F off. He went back to the studio, boom, 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 and started saying that. Mm-hmm. F off. Next thing you know, that's how he created the hit right there. Freak Out. Doing that from somebody telling him he couldn't get in the club. I said, man, this thing right here is interesting. But when you hear all the turmoil, that was a hit that came out of turmoil. He got embarrassed. They closed the door in his face. Hey, who are you? That dude is an amazing music producer. Produced, I don't know what. He couldn't get in that club that night. They didn't know him. They didn't know he was a good producer at that point. And somebody contributed to that hit by just going off on him. Go ahead, brother.
Yohanan chapter 20 and verse 11. But Miriam stood without at the sepulchre weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and sees 2 angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Yahshua had lain. And they say unto her, Woman, why weepeth you? She says unto them, Because they have taken away my Adonai, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back, and saw Yahshua standing, and knew not that it was Yahshua. Yahshua says unto her, Woman, why weepeth thou? Whom seeketh you? She, supposing him to be the gardener.
Right, now. When you think you're talking to the lawn man, how well is your speech? Now you're talking to the King of Kings right now, but you think you talking to the gardener. And y'all know we funny with our speech. See, we get to the police. Yes, sir. No, sir. No, I was just traveling, sir. I wasn't driving. Oh, but the y'all man come up. Hey, SA, put that mulch over there on. Okay. What if he disguised himself to look like SA who doing the yard? Go ahead.
She, supposing him to be the gardener, says unto him, Sir, if you have borne him hence, tell me where you have laid him, and I'll take him away. Yahshua says unto her, Miriam. She turned herself and says unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Yahshua says unto her.
So, because at this point, now, once she understands that it's him, now she want to run up and hug him. Okay? Go ahead.
Touch me not, for I'm not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren, and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father, and your Father, and to my Elohim, and to your Elohim. Miriam Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Adonai, and that he had spoken these things unto her.
Now, he told her, touch me not, for a reason. The very thing that we read before, after he had done these things, he sat down. He had to anoint the altar in heaven with his own blood. You can't touch me right now. You can't touch me right. There's a foundation, and no matter how much you like me, No matter how much you like the camaraderie that we shared, there's a foundation that can't be changed. There was a foundation before I met you. A lot of times people think that the foundation began when they began. No, there was already a foundation way before you. I know you miss me. I know you saw these things happen, but you can't touch me right now. I still got a job to do because that foundation was set way before us. Go ahead.
You know, how much of us are strong enough to set that boundary? And then the other part is how much of us can receive when the boundary is set.
That's a multitude of stuff you just said right there, brother. That's a multitude of stuff you just said right there.
Because you remember how we started with the embrace, and then once it was set forth, some people couldn't get when you said, hey, don't hug me. But priest, I know you.
Right.
What's going on?
I said, we had to get to that point. No more embracing between brothers and sisters. And some people didn't like that.
What you mean? I always been hugging you.
Well, I hope you remember that. Because we ain't doing it no more. That's over. You want to find out how to get yourself in trouble? Keep hugging the wrong people. And some people don't hug, they squeeze. They pull giblets out of you when they hug. I'm like, I'm missing some stuffing. You squeezed the hell out of me. I just stopped that. You supposed to be shaloming and you there for a minute and a half. Wait a minute. You keep doing this, we need to turn on soft music. This. No, we're not going to keep doing this right here. Leviticus chapter 4, and we're going to start that at verse 13. Whenever brothers get upset about it, I just remind them, all right, well, how many brothers have you greeted with a holy kiss? Then they leave me alone. That's how I shut the brothers up.
All right. Well, let me see you go ahead and greet that brother right there with a holy kiss. Go ahead. We right after you.
Yeah, that's the last I hear of that comment right there. Leviticus chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 13.
And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahweh concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty. When the sin, which they have sinned against it, is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin, and bring them before the tabernacle of the congregation. Bring him, before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands upon the head of the bullock before Yahweh, and the bullock shall be killed before Yahweh. And the priest that is anointed shall bring of the bullock's blood to the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall dip his finger in some of the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before Yahweh, even before the veil.
So now you understand what Yahshua was doing. He said, don't touch me. You can't touch me. There was a foundation that's here. I got to still operate in that foundation. We can't just sit here and hug because you happy to see me. We got to finish this job. Go ahead.
And he shall put some of the blood upon the horns of the altar which is before Yahweh, that is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall pour out all the blood at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall take all his fat from him and burn it upon the altar. And he shall do with the bullock as he did with the bullock for his sin offering, so shall he do with this. And the priest shall make an atonement for them, and it shall be forgiven them.
Right. So then Yahshua made atonement for us, and it was forgiven us. So it's a pretty big deal. No. You can't touch me. I have to do this. Go ahead.
And he shall carry forth the bullock without the camp, and burn him as he burnt the first bullock. It is a sin offering for the congregation. When a ruler has sinned, and has done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of Yahweh his Elohim concerning things which should not be done, and is guilty, or if his sin, wherein he has sinned, come to his knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a male without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the goat, and kill it in the place where they kill the burnt offering before Yahweh. It is a sin offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out his blood at the bottom of the altar of burnt offering. And he shall burn all his fat upon the altar, as the fat of the sacrifice of peace offerings. And the priest shall make an atonement for him as concerning his sin, and it shall be forgiven him. And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he does somewhat against any of the commandments of Yahweh concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty of or if his sin, which he has sinned, come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin which he has sinned. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and lay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar.
So when you look through these processes, the same thing has to happen. He has to take that blood, put it on the altar. We're talking about for the king, for the common people, you have this same process. So Yahshua was taking care of all of Israel with that process that he was doing. Because Israel has to be set in the right place before the nations can. Go ahead.
You know, as you're reading this, then I realized Melchizedek had work to do.
Yes.
And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat is taken away from off the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall burn it upon the altar for a sweet savor unto Yahweh. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. And if he bring a lamb for a sin offering, he shall bring it a female without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and slay it for a sin offering in the place where they killed the burnt offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. And he shall take away all the fat thereof, as the fat of the lamb is taken away from the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall burn them upon the altar, according to the offerings made by fire unto Yahweh. And the priest shall make an atonement for his sin that he has committed, and it shall be forgiven him.
So in all of these things, there is a priest that is needed to conduct that ceremony. That's what Yahshua's purpose was. That's what he was fulfilling. Let's go to Exodus chapter 29. So the very people who were arguing with Yahshua didn't understand his purpose. But these were educated individuals. Exodus chapter 29, and we're going to start that at verse 32.
Verse 32. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram, and the bread that is in the basket, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And they shall eat those things wherewith the atonement was made, to consecrate and to sanctify them. But a stranger shall not eat thereof, because they are holy.
All right. And they shall eat those things wherewith the atonement was made, to consecrate and to sanctify them. Then you understand, when you look at that, you'll understand why when there were certain things that belonged to Yahweh, it was wholly burnt. What happened? They called upon Yahweh. They said the fire came down from heaven and consumed something. Right. The fire ate it up. He said, all right, you gonna stand in my stead. You got to go eat that offering. Go ahead.
And if aught of the flesh of consecrations or of the bread remain unto the morning, then you shall burn the remainder with fire. It shall not be eaten, because it is holy. And thus shall you do unto Aaron and to his sons, according to all things which I have commanded you. 7 days shall you consecrate them. And you shall offer every day a bullock for a sin offering for atonement. And you shall cleanse the altar when you have made an atonement for it, and you shall anoint it to sanctify it.
Okay, so for it to be presented for service, some things had to happen. Even for them to be consecrated, to operate in that stead, they had to be sanctified. So there's a process that has to happen, and you can't skip that process. Go ahead.
7 days you shall make an atonement for the altar and sanctify it, and it shall be an altar most holy. Whatsoever touches the altar shall be holy. Now this is that which you shall offer upon the altar, 2 lambs of the first year, day by day continually. Then 1 lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at even. And with the 1 lamb, a 1/10 deal of flour mingled with the 4th part of an hin of beaten oil, and the 4th part of an hin of wine for a drink offering. And the other lamb you shall offer at even, and shall do thereto according to the meat offering of the morning, and according to the drink offering thereof, for a sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. This shall be a continual burnt offering throughout your generations at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before Yahweh, where I will meet you to speak thereon to you. And there I will meet with the children of Israel, and the tabernacle shall be sanctified by my glory. And I'll sanctify the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar. I will sanctify also both Aaron and his sons to minister to me in the priest's office.
Understand something, you know, Yahweh made it very clear how much he cared about Moshe. He made it clear how important he was, how he was more than a prophet. This is where you see, you know, where people want to make their house equal unto the house of Elohim. As much as he loved Moshe, how many times he talked to him at Moshe tent? I wait. When he talked to him at Moshe tent. Right. He says, it's going to be this place because you have set up certain things here. I'm going to deal with you. I'm going to meet with you there. Much as he loved him. When he talked to him at his tent. Matter of fact, where the hell is Moshe tent at? Where's that? Where's tent at? But you see how our arrogance does? We're going to set this up in our little personal thing. And we haven't gone through any other consecrations or cleansings. We're just going to set it up. I don't even remember reading anything about Moshe 10. I don't know what was in it. I don't know where it was. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think about even the altercation with Miriam and Aaron. When he called them out, he said, come where?
Come out.
And then he brought them out onto the tabernacle.
Out. See? But you have to listen to that. I've heard what you said to my servant. Come out, you 3. Mm-hmm. Okay. Listen. Keep reading.
And I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will be their Elohim. And they shall know that I am Yahweh their El, that brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, that I might dwell among them. I am Yahweh your El. And you shall make an altar to burn incense upon, of shittim wood shall you make it. A cubit shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof. 4 squares shall it be. And 2 cubits shall be the height thereof. The horns thereof shall be of the same. And you shall overlay with pure gold the top thereof, and the sides thereof round about, and the horns thereof. And you shall make unto it a crown of gold round about. And 2 golden rings shall you make. And 2 golden rings shall you make to it under the crown of it, by the 2 corners thereof. Upon the 2 sides of it shall you make it, and they shall be for places for the staves to bear it withal.
Right. He has to, they're given building plans. They can't just decide that they're going to build this any way that they want to. Where's these building plans coming out? He just imagining these building plans? He says let it be done on earth as it is in heaven. I'm giving you the exact measurements in perspective of you. That don't mean that's the exact size that it is in heaven. Now don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. He may have given it to us 1/3 scale. You know how you buy a little toy car?
Mm-hmm. It's a 1/16 scale.
Right. Go ahead.
And you shall make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put it before the veil that is by the ark of the testimony, before the mercy seat that is over the testimony, where I'll meet with you.
Where I will meet with you. Go ahead.
And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning. When he dresses the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lights the lamps at even, he shall burn incense upon it, a perpetual incense before Yahweh throughout your generations. You shall offer no strange incense thereon.
Now, here go instructions. You shall offer no strange incense. Now, Aaron received those instructions. Everybody that's around hear these instructions. Moshe is clearly, reciting these things. So, when your boys catch on fire and get extra crispy, understand, you knew what this was. Everybody knew what this was. Don't offer no strange incense on my altar. And then once they got burnt, Yahweh, through Moshe, don't take off your head covering. You don't mourn with the rest of your brother. Go finish the job. You know how hard that's got to be? To know that your two boys is over there extra crispy, and you better not shed a tear. You sure you ready to sit in that seat? Right. We want to offer advice and we want to do things like we're sitting in the seat without suffering any of the sacrifices that's needed to sit in that seat. Do you have any idea how hard that had to be? Everybody else got to mourn your sons, but you can't? Let you know how serious Yahweh took things when he said, you didn't restrain your boys, Eli. I made this man's sons got burnt up and I wouldn't even let him cry. And you think that you can just let your kids run around and do anything and not say anything to them? Right. No. You had righteous examples before you. You just decided not to take them. Go ahead.
Nor burnt sacrifice, nor meat offering. Neither shall you pour drink offering thereon. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once a year with the blood of the sin offering of atonements. Once in the year shall he make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is most holy unto Yahweh. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying,
now what is this? Once in the year, it is most holy. I was asked the question, why is atonement the holiest day of the year? Because, some people think it's Passover. That's the one everybody know of, Why is atonement the holiest day of the year? That's the day you got back right with your Elohim. That's the day that your sins were dealt with. You can't get no better than that. See, we already ready to deal with Passover. It says, okay, that sin has been forgiven, but it's still sitting there. Atonement is where you get your new slate. So we don't even understand just how powerful that is. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 30 and verse 12. When you taketh the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto Yahweh. When you numbered them, that there be no plague among them, when you numbered them. This they shall give, every one that passes among them that are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs, and half shekel shall be the offering of Yahweh. Every one that passes among them that are numbered, from 20 years old and above, shall give an offering unto Yahweh.
So then Yahweh will set forth when it's time that he needs Israel to deal with something. He will cause Israel to be numbered. Why? So they can all pay a ransom for their soul. And that means he wanted Israel to do something there. Keep reading.
The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when they give an offering unto Yahweh, to make an atonement for your souls. And you shall take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shall appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, that it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before Yahweh, to make an atonement for your souls.
Now, when one of these things when we had went through a few things, I remember you saying, I know enough about you, priest, that if you had been able to just get this building or get this little house without saying anything, you would have just gotten it. And I said, you know what? And I would have been wrong. Because you see this atonement money? The children are supposed to bring that atonement money to take care of the temple. That way they personally have stake in the house. All right? So, you know, I want y'all to go to that next graphic, because what ended up happening when you talk about appointed for the service of the tabernacle, when we got, sometimes people think they understand the foundation, but that place that we just left wasn't our foundation. That was not it. Before we got there, we ended up getting this place. After that, I went 10 months without paying my mortgage because I couldn't afford to pay both of them. Now, anybody who know about mortgages, how many times you get to miss the mortgage payment before they foreclose?
3 months.
After that 3, they coming. Matter of fact, your stuff is on the lawn. So Yahweh gave me 3 and 7. And we know that those numbers are very important. But I want to go and read something. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 15. Because, you know, a lot of us are too proud to claim bankruptcy. A lot of us are way too proud.
I ain't gonna do that. And people gonna know I'm broke.
I mean, you already know you broke.
Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
At the end of every 7 years, you shall make a release.
Uh-huh.
And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lends aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called Yahweh's release.
Uh-huh. So what Yahweh decided, no. Go ahead and get the place. Now I'm finna pull all your bills away from you. I decided that this year is gonna be your release. Ended up refinancing my mortgage, dropped my mortgage interest rate in half, took care of all of that. Made everything lower so I could actually pay for the place and still keep my house. But that was a hard 10 months now, I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna tell you that we just skated through them 10 months without going home and there, you know what I'm saying, folk looking at you funny. Cause folks in your house know you ain't paid the mortgage now. They looking at you funny. But suppose I wanted to get everything straight before I made that move. Then I would have been disobedient to my Elohim and he would have disciplined me for it. Sometimes the things that we end up having to sacrifice is our own way, our own feelings. See, we've all gotten accustomed to something, but when you're getting ready to deal with Yahweh, you ain't accustomed to that. So if you will only, serve in the capacity that you are accustomed to, you are going to have a problem. All right? You are going to have a serious problem. So I want to go to this next graphic because when you talk about this foundation, this is the first baptism that was ever done. The first baptism was in my backyard. A lot of times when people ask, things about, the business structure and things like that, you got to back up a little bit because you don't really know enough about the foundation. It would be the same thing if we were talking to somebody and they only know the New Testament. So you talking to them and you're like, look, you don't know enough about the foundation to even understand your question. Let's back up a little bit more and you might be able to understand your own question. This is the first baptism that was done at the UCI. This is Ephraim, who just passed, the one who I always say my mama's son. This was that first one that was done there. So when you talk about foundation, bro, we went through some things there. We learned some things about plumbing we didn't want to know. I learned, first of all, that Israel can lay some bricks. And I realized that my house was not accustomed to such bricklaying. So what we do, kids, you remember what we had to do? Mm-hmm. Tell them what we had to do. I ain't gonna tell them.
We had to boil hot water every Sabbath after it was done and pour it down the toilets.
Down the bottom toilet, right? Because we had to push those bricks out of there.
Free up the pipes.
See, if we didn't push them bricks out, we would have us some problems. So when folks start talking this foundation stuff, no, you ain't went far back enough to understand this foundation. You don't understand when we walking through hot water. We got to make everybody move because it's time. We got to put this hot water. We gonna have a different building outside, right? But folks think they know what you've been through. They think they understand what you have sacrificed. You don't understand because you didn't go back far enough. The foundation does not start because you got here. There's a foundation that you don't know nothing about. What did Yahshua say? I have a sheep that you know not of. Mm-hmm. What? We done seen you the whole time. No. I had stuff going on before you saw me. These ain't all my sheep. The foundation didn't start because you arrived. Go to the next graphic. You know, we talked about the thing with you know, the choir and some of the things that would go on. We talked about in the beginning, there was a request to just have one brother sit up and everybody else just sit in their seat and sing behind him. So that was the begin. That was before we even had a choir. That was the suggestion. Mm-hmm. Later on, in the place where we left, we was having assaults and said, why do we even need a choir? Did you hear how beautiful our choir sounded today? That was not without sacrifice. And they had to lose some individuals for the choir to sound like that. See, sometimes you sacrifice things. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice people. There's some people that were assaulted so much that you don't see them in the choir no more. They left the choir and went somewhere else. You don't understand what kind of sacrifices was made. Go ahead, brother. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7. See, it's one of those things when you talk about putting a team together. You know, Allen Iverson was my favorite ball player. You know, Bubba Chuck. He was a bad dude. Bubba Chuck was amazing. All right? Bubba Chuck shook Jordan and broke ankles. Okay? Nobody made Jordan look that stupid. Nobody. You know, this was Michael Jordan. This man was so good, they outlawed his move. They said it was illegal. They said, you can't do that because you make people look stupid on television. All right? But you have to understand something when you're working and you're putting together a team. One thing that one of my favorite players do not have is a ring. See, Bubba Chuck was amazing. But he ain't got no ring. He ain't got no championship. See, when you're talking about getting the championship, it's not about your individual ability. It's about how well you work together as a team. So now you find a whole lot of people switching sides and switching this and switch. They are individual players, but that don't mean they're going to be able to work together. Those are the things that we have to consider even when we build a team for Yahweh's house. Bubba Chuck didn't believe in practice. He got to argue with the coach. Practice? You talking about practice? He gonna get 40 points. They're not gonna win though. But he gonna get his. But if the whole team gonna do something, that team gotta be able to practice together. You say what you say about Jordan, but let me tell you something. He was the first one at practice and the last one to leave. So when you're putting together a team, you got to think about how well these people going to be able to play together. You can pull you some stars together. That don't mean they're going to play together. And the last thing I want to do is go to the championship with some people I ain't never played with. I don't know how they operate. When I practice with, what did Dawid say? I can't take these weapons because they have not been proven in battle. Here go a sword, here go a shield. Now that is an amazing sword. That is an amazing shield. But you know, I know this slingshot and this rock so good. I can make this rock go wherever I want it to go. Sometimes you might not think you have the best people on your team, but watch what Yahweh do with them. Goliath laughed when Dawid showed up. What am I, dog? He really got rocks. He really got rocks. Right. But when that rock sunk into his forehead, good night. Good night. What? I know how to work with this. You see? I know it might not be the best thing available, but I know how to work with this. That's what happened when people work together as a team. Yeah, I know that dude crazy and he keep falling asleep, but damn it, he's good. I know how to work with him. These newly found individuals who might have degrees and all that, I don't know how to work with them. Why? Because I don't practice with them. If I don't practice with them, I don't want to play with them. I don't know what they're going to do in the game. See, when the game is there, the bright lights make people act differently. They see the bright lights, and now they doing, you know, the play said run 10 yards down, turn left. But you know, those lights wasn't there in practice. Well, I mean, I wouldn't know because I wasn't at practice, but but now the lights there, they don't know what 10 yards is. And now they want to shine. Now they done went down 30 yards. He can't throw that far. He had to drop back 15. Where are you going? Now the ball intercepted because you ain't nowhere where you supposed to be. And he counted on you being right there. Now, had you practiced that, he would have known without even turning around, I know where he gonna be. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7, and let's start that at verse 12.
Verse 12. Therefore all things, whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do you even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Enter you in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leads on to life, and few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or of figs of thistles? Even so every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. Not every one that says unto me, Adonai, Adonai, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Adonai, Adonai, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have cast out devils? And in your name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work lawlessness. Therefore, whosoever hear these sayings of mine, and does them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that hears these saying of mine, and does them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man who built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Yahshua had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine.
And this is where the problem starts, right here. Read that last verse.
For he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes.
He taught them as one having authority. Now, understanding that he has set up this foundation that is based upon the same foundation that his father has set, then he is speaking and teaching with authority. Then as he deals with his students, they're going to also teach with authority. Now here is where the problem is going to come in. You're going to then have some issues when people see you teaching with authority. Luke chapter 10. And you're going to see that this authority then gets passed down. But this is where you start running into problems. And it says, he taught as one having authority, not as the scribes. Luke chapter 10, verse 1 through 20. So, people already say, well, wait a minute, man, you teaching different than these other people. I mean, it sounds like when you teaching, it sounds like you putting yourself in that spot. Oh, okay. Luke chapter 10, let's start at verse 1.
After these things, the Adonai appointed other 70 also, and sent them 2 and 2 before his face into every city and place, whither he himself would come. Therefore said he unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray you therefore the Adonai of the harvest, that he would send forth laborers into the harvest. Go your ways. Behold, I send you forth as lambs among wolves. Carry neither purse, nor scrip, nor shoes, and salute no man by the way. And into whatsoever house you enter, first say, peace be to this house. And if the Son of Peace be there, your peace shall rest upon it. If not, it shall turn to you again.
Right. You have to ask yourself, where have you allowed your peace to sit on a house that don't deserve it? If the Son of Peace be there, your peace shall rest upon it. If not, it shall turn to you again. See, we've gotten used for our peace to be laid upon a non-peace-bearing house. Go ahead.
And in the same house remain, eating and drinking such things as they give, for the laborer is worthy of his hire.
Right.
Go
so
now.
when the peace of Elohim was not there, you were supposed to leave there too. Go ahead.
Go not from house to house, and into whatsoever city you enter, and they receive you, eat such things as are set before you, and heal the sick that are therein, and say unto them, the kingdom of Elohim is come nearer unto you. But into whatsoever city you enter, and they receive you not, go your ways out into the streets of the same, and say, even the very dust of your city, which cleaves on us, we do wipe off against you. Notwithstanding, be you sure of this, that the kingdom of Elohim is come near unto you.
Right. There's certain situations that we were supposed to walk right to the door, take our shoes off, shake off the dust off our feet, and walk back and never see that place again. Go ahead.
But I say unto you, that it shall be more tolerable in that day for Sodom than for that city. Woe unto you, Chorazin! Woe unto you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works had been done in Tyre and Zidon, which have been done in you, they had a great while ago repented, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Zidon at the judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, which are exalted to heaven, shall be thrust down to hell. He that hears you hears me.
Uh-huh.
And he that despises you despise me.
Now, wait a minute. Now, here is that power that he taught with is now being passed down unto his pupils. But people will accuse you of other things because they don't recognize the power that's being spoken. So they say you must be making yourself somebody. Wait a minute, he got the same power as his teacher. If you knew my teacher, you know me. The same things that you heard my teacher teach, I teach. So if you were offended in my teacher, you are most definitely offended in me. Go ahead.
And he that despised me despised him that sent me. And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Adonai, even the devils are subject unto us through your name.
Wait a minute. That same power. He taught as one having authority. The same power that he taught with, even the people under him taught with the same power and ended up having that authority. But that bothers people who don't have it. Go ahead.
And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions.
Stop. I give unto you power. But the people who don't have it, the vagabond Jews, have animosity that they don't have that power. Go ahead.
See, I think we think that this power is just for them back then.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't carry on from generation to
They
generation.
don't understand. It's one teach one, teach one. That power keeps going on. That's why Yahweh says there must be heresies among you so that those who are approved may be made manifest among you. So that means Yahweh will turn around and go in a room, show and let one brother do something without a problem. And everybody else try to be a problem everywhere behind him. What he's saying? I'm showing you that I approve that individual to do that. Every last one of y'all that tried gonna fail. Go ahead.
It's kind of like the situation with his disciples when we heard others preaching in your name.
Right.
So they figure, well, they ain't with you. Where they get the authority from?
Right.
Because they ain't right here with us.
Right.
And over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Notwithstanding, in this rejoice not, that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice, because your names are written in heaven.
He had to even tell them, don't even be happy because you have this power. You're supposed to be happy about something else. But nonetheless, you see that authority is being passed down to his pupils. Let's go to John chapter 5. Yohanan chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 1 through 18.
After this, there was a feast of the Yehudis, and Yahshua went up to Jerusalem. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season in the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. When Yahshua saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he says unto him, Will you be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no one.
No. Hold on. He done had this problem 38 years. Alright? I don't know if y'all ever talked to somebody who been sick for a long time. Hey, sometimes when you try to talk to them, hey, they got 38 years of pistivity that flow out their mouth. And then Yahshua says, will you be made whole? This is normally where you get cussed out at. Right here. This is where you got to be willing to sacrifice some of yourself, depending on which side you own in this conversation. Will you be made whole? Go ahead.
The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the waters trouble to put me into the pool. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me.
Now, how many of y'all would do that 38 times? Every year. Go ahead.
Yahshua says unto him, Rise, take up your bed, and walk.
So look at, you don't even need the pool. I got you. Go ahead.
And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Shabbat. The Yehudis therefore said unto him, that was cured, It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for you to carry your bed.
Wait a minute now. Wait, before somebody had to carry me. Now you finna hit me with the Sabbath law? I just got healed and you telling me it ain't lawful for you to carry your bed. Well, this is the only time I could carry it. Because I ain't been able to carry it in the last 38. Go ahead.
He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up your bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is that which said unto you, Take up your bed and walk?
Wait a minute now, this dude talking like he got authority. Who is this man that said this unto you? Go ahead.
And he that was healed knew not who it was, for Yahshua had conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. Afterward Yahshua finds him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, you are made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you.
Right. Now, we have to remember this when people start soliciting prayers and they asking you, pray for my such and such. All right. Now, what happened if my Elohim does heal your son, your daughter, your whatever? Now, when they turn back and go back to where they were, they might end up with a worse thing than what they got healed from. What you gonna do then? Go ahead.
The man departed and told the Yehudis that it was Yahshua which had made him whole.
Now see, you see how Yahshua seek trouble? He was already scot-free, right? The man didn't even know who healed him. He was like, look, I don't know, it was some man. I ain't never seen a man before. He was just a man. So then Yahshua gonna come and snitch on himself. Yahshua snitches on himself. Behold, you are who are made whole. Sin no more. He ain't have to say that. Now he done made trouble. Now he come to snitch. Now I know who it was. It was Yahshua. Right. Because he sought forth a problem. No. Go ahead and tell him. Yeah, healed the man right here. Go ahead.
And therefore did the Yehudis persecute Yahshua.
There you go.
And sought to slay him. Because he had done these things on the Sabbath day.
Now, you ever notice the people who either can't or won't do nothing are the ones who always got something to say about how it's done? The ones who have done the least amount of work have all the things to say about how the work is done? The ones who can't heal nobody are the ones talking about how another person was healed? I tell you what, we'll step back. You go and do it. You go ahead and heal them. I tell you what, take the healing back. We'll take it back. It's on the Sabbath. Tomorrow is the first day. Go ahead, won't you go on and heal them then? Well, exactly. Don't matter what day it is, you can't heal them. So why are you talking about it? Go ahead.
But Yahshua answered them, My Father works hitherto, and I work.
See, Yahshua, people think when he says, I came not to send peace, but a sword. You don't see him starting this trouble right here. Nobody even had to know that it was him. He knew that once he said it was him, it was going to bring forth a problem. You have to understand, there's certain things that Yahweh may lead you to do, and he know it is going to bring problems. That's exactly what he wants you to do. Go ahead.
Therefore the Yehudis sought the more to kill him, because he not only had broken the Sabbath, but said also that Elohim was his father, making himself equal with Elohim.
Now this is where you have some problems at. Because once people say you are making yourself equal unto Elohim, this is when the cult words start coming out. Oh no, you want a cult. This man making himself equal unto Elohim. If they've done the same thing to the son of Elohim, do understand, they're going to do much worse to you. They said he has made himself equal unto Elohim. Let's go to Acts chapter 5. They said you have made yourself equal unto Elohim. We don't understand when people are standing in Elohim's stead to do a job, they are allowed to borrow of his power. They don't get to walk in that power day in and day out. Don't get it twisted. But in the capacity of that job, they get to stand in Elohim's power. If only but for a moment. Acts chapter 5, and let's read verses 1 through 11.
But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira his wife, sold a possession, and kept back part of the price, his wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. But Cephas said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and to keep back part of the price of the land? While it remained, was it not your own? And after it was sold, was it not your own in your own power? Why have you conceived this thing in your heart? You have not lied unto men, but unto Elohim.
Now wait a minute. When you have done this unto the least of them, you have done it unto me. Now, here is a servant who is a man, but he is allowed to borrow of the power of Elohim because of the job that he holds. Now, they believe that they are lying unto a man, yet it is being accounted unto them that they have lied unto Elohim face to face. Go ahead.
And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost. And great fear came on all them that heard these things. And the young man arose, wound him up, and carried him out, and buried him. And it was about the space of 3 hours after, when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. And Cephas answered unto her, Tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, Yeah, for so much.
This is why I tell people where if a woman is going to build her house, she has to consider how she going to build it. Are you building it by helping your husband lie? Because at this point, they both believe that they're lying to a man. They're not considering that the job that the man has, that they are actually lying face to face to Elohim. So now she is about to agree with her husband. Ain't she going to get the same fate he got? Go ahead.
Then Cephas said unto her, How is it that you have agreed together to tempt the spirit of the Adonai?
Now, you hear the question there. He says, how is it that you have agreed together? He expected her to stand up. He expected her to be the reason in the house. But this is what happened when people said, well, you know, we together and we're going to do everything together. Maybe had she not agreed, he wouldn't have done it. This is where you are together for your own fault. He asked, how is it that you have agreed? In other words, how are you okay with this lie? Go ahead.
Behold, the feet of them which have buried your husband are at the door, and shall carry you out.
Right. Y'all shall be together. You wanted it, you got it, Scab. Y'all gonna be together. Go ahead.
Then fell she down straightway at his feet, and yielded up the ghost. And the young man came in, and found her dead, and carrying her forth, buried her by her husband. And great fear came upon all the church, and upon as many as heard these things.
Right, because they then learned that the power of Elohim has the ability to be transformed, if only for a moment. They don't walk in the power of Elohim 24 hours a day. But when they need it, they were able to get some of that authority. And people not understanding what they're dealing with ended up not dealing at all. Let's go to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 41 through 46.
Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I wasn't hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Adonai, when saw we you an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to the one of the least of these, you did it not to me.
Wait a minute. The least of these is his servants. See, when you did it not to them, and when you did it to them, you did it to me. So then they're able to share of this power. Why? Because their job allows them to. But they didn't consider who they were doing those things to. They didn't consider who they were doing those things against. They thought they saw a man. But when a man stands in a job, the policeman is still a man. But when he put on that uniform, he don't have just the power of man or himself standing there. He got the power of that whole county. And believe you me, they gonna come to his aid. When he get into trouble, it ain't him, himself coming. It's that whole county coming to help get him out of trouble. That's why we have so many hard times when there's a bad one. It's one of you, and it's 400 people in that courthouse. They all on his side. So you got to bring some numbers with you to even make your argument hearable. They can't even hear you over the 400 that automatically come with him. Go ahead.
And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal.
All right, let's go to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
I, therefore, the prisoner of the Adonai, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, even as you are called in one hope of your calling.
Right, but that one and same Spirit might call one brother for this thing, call another sister for that thing, call a brother over here for this over there. Just because there's one Spirit, that don't mean that we all gonna do the same thing. And if the Spirit has called this brother over here to do that, who are you to speak against that? Because the Spirit didn't call you to do it. Go ahead.
One Adonai, one faith, one baptism. One Elohim and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Yahshua. Wherefore he says, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive, and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth?
Right. At that baptism, when you saw that Spirit descend in the bodily shape of a dove and rested upon him, that is Israel that dwelt in the body of Yahshua. This is why it says he descended. Now, of course, to men that caused a problem. What you mean he descended? Man, we know where he from. We know his mama, his brothers. They're looking at the physical part of that man, not the spirit that dwelt in that body. This is how you can be present for something and still not understand what you're looking at. Think about the people who say, man, I know Yahshua, man. What you talking about? I I know his mama, his brethren. I know them, bruh. He can't be no savior. You know just enough to get yourself killed. Go ahead.
He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers.
Right. They have all these different gifts for the body. You don't see none of them arguing with one another. Well, man, I wish I was an apostle. Well, I wish I was a prophet. They walking in the job that was given unto them. Where you see the schism is the individual who didn't receive any of those gifts. But he's not going to just give his gifts onto somebody who not going to use them to edify the body. To actually edify the body, you have to be a part of the body. What are you going to give you a gift for if you ain't never going to be present? What are you going to give you a gift for? You ain't never going to help nobody. You ain't never going to do nothing with it. You just going to parade down the street to show you got it. Go ahead.
Verse 12, for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Yahshua, till we all come into the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Yahshua. That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lay in wait to deceive.
Right. When you receive those little things where you pull to the side and something is said to you, Yahweh expects you to grow so that this same thing don't keep happening to you. At some point, Yahweh like, so how many times you gonna fall for the same trick? Go ahead.
But speaking the truth in love, may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Yahshua, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplies, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. This I say therefore, and testify in the Adonai, that you henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of Elohim through the ignorance that is in them, because of the blindness of their heart.
Not the blindness of their eyes, but the blindness of their heart. That's a different kind of blindness. Go ahead.
Who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. But you have not so learned Yahshua, if so be that you have heard him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Yahshua, that you put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to deceitful lust.
Now, you have to know and understand that the old you was deceitful. But you know, we kind of like that old man, right? And we don't want to completely let him die off because we done got accustomed to him. Go ahead.
And be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that you put on the new man, which after Elohim is created in righteousness and true holiness.
Now, if you are renewed in the spirit of your mind, then you got to sacrifice that old mind. See, that old mind has a way that it wants to deal with everything. To learn the ways of Yahshua, you have to rethink, you know what? I got to stop dealing with this like that. And that's a process. You ain't just going to get in the water or start reading and all of a sudden it's going to change how you do everything. No. That's bit by bit, little by little. Here a little, there a little. This process is going to take all your life. Because although you may conquer it in this issue, you ain't conquered it in that issue. So you still got to work. Go ahead.
Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your anger.
Man, when you see how long some people are angry with a brother or a sister and you find out that it has gone on for years, you have to then wonder, what has happened to any of your prayers? You mean you've been carrying around animosity with this individual for 2 and 3 years? Go ahead.
Neither give place to the devil. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needs. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers.
Right. And you know, you can be at a point where you don't really respect the time that we start, and some of y'all may not even have heard this, because y'all ain't never hear when it's read. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of the... You ain't even came through the door yet. So just so you know, this should have been the second time that you heard, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth. If this is the first time, you got here too damn late. Read, man.
And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim.
Read to the late ones. Go ahead.
And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim.
The Holy Spirit was grieved every time they see you. Damn, they don't have no time where you from? Go ahead.
Whereby you're sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you.
Right, and if we're going to be kind to one another, that means we're not going to walk around telling lies on one another for our own gain. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11. See, the whole thing of serving is serving out of discomfort. You have to sit around and watch. You know, it's our own way, it's human nature to try to serve in what you are accustomed to. That's just how we do. You know, if you are, you know, a plumber and you come to the body, you offer up what you know how to do. All right, I know how to do this. But if you are only served in the things that you are accustomed to, you're never going to grow in Elohim. No, that's the part that he uses you for right now. But then there's going to be some things that he needs to grow with you in. But you said, no, I ain't going to do that, because, you know, that ain't nothing I've ever done before. I ain't trying to get involved with stuff I don't know nothing about. But then you're not going to grow. You can't only serve in the things that you already know. What about the things he want to teach you? What about the things he wants you to grow in? See, I know this by experience, because this is the very thing that came out of my mouth. They asked me to come down to a television studio. I said, oh, no. I don't do like, you know, like videos or something like that. I got a studio. I do audio stuff. So, you know, I can help anybody with that. But I don't do television or, you know, broadcast and nothing like that. My God must have been laughing when it came out my mouth. This fool don't know why he here. This fool think I brought him here to be in his comfort. This fool thought I brought him here just so he can record audio. Fool, you finna record everything. I couldn't just serve in my comfort. No, that's where you start. But true serving is serving out of your comfort. To a point. And it ain't even uncomfortable no more. Go ahead.
Numbers chapter 11 and verse 16. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel.
Now, I want you to watch the systematic thing of how deception is laid. There's a process. Now, there's a whole lot of things that we can go into, but what I'm going to do is we're going to go just a little bit so you can see, like, you ever watch those videos and they say it's a time-lapse recording and they push a whole lot of things together? All right, so we're going to get a few things And I want you to see how it built up to where they ended up. All right, go ahead.
Whom you know to be the elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with you.
Now, this all happened because of the murmuring of the children of Israel. Moshe felt overwhelmed, and now the spirit that is on him, listen, is going to be taken off of him and put on to 70 men. Now you got a Sanhedrin. Now, when you read about the Septuagint, the 70, understand, this is the foundation of that. Go ahead.
And I'll come down and talk with you there. And I'll take of the spirit which is upon you, and will put it upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you bear it not yourself alone.
All right, so now this has been granted. This is what was asked. And remember, later on, after this happened, if you keep reading, Joshua had an issue. He said, man, look, man, Eldad and Medad prophesied in the camp. He said, look, don't be jealous for my sake. I wish that all Yahweh's people were prophets. Now, pay attention to that. That has happened. Now, go to Numbers chapter 12 and read verses 1 through 4. Now, 70 people just got the spirit of Moshe, right? Now listen to the words that start. Numbers 12, 1 through 4.
And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moshe because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, has Yahweh indeed spoken only by Moshe?
Now, understand something. What then is Miriam doing? Now she's trying to work the Sanhedrin. Now that the spirit has been spread unto other individuals, now she's trying. Here's where politics entered the house of Elohim. This is how we gonna push politics in the house of Elohim. Now we ain't got to just deal with Moshe now. See, this is so. Now what you gotta understand what just happened. The business structure just changed. The business structure changed from just Moshe to Moshe and these 70 others. Immediately,
Has Yahweh only spoken by Moses?
you think that she just jumped to this. No. What got her to this was what happened previously. Now she's emboldened because she now is working the room. Go ahead.
Has he not also spoken by us?
Now, remember now, Eldad and Medad end up prophesying after the spirit of Moshe was given. This is how people will use your spirit against you. Now, the spirit come off of him, go to these other individuals, then she say, has he not only also spoken by us? Who's us? Right, she work in the room. Here's how politics entered the church. Go ahead.
And Yahweh heard it. Now the man Moshe was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And Yahweh spake suddenly unto Moshe and unto Aaron and unto Miriam. Come out, you three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out.
So he didn't talk to him at Moshe house?
Nope.
Okay. And he told them, come out, you three. Okay. Yeah. Why was Yahweh so swift? Yahweh know the foundation of deception. He know every part about, no, I know what you're doing. So I need to make an example of you. Get out. And let everybody look at you. Get out. I know what you're doing. If you think back to some things, you'll start realizing, oh no, wait a minute. This foundation of deception didn't just start. Sometimes you think you just saw something, and what you saw was step 8. You back up and you see 7 other steps toward this deception. So now we got to this point, right? Now go to Numbers 13 and read verses 1 through 3.
You know, before you move on, it now puts light on Miriam, because remember, she's been orchestrating stuff in his life from there.
Okay. But now there's an opportunity. See, how do you merge or you make your way in? You got to get the structure changed. And once you get the structure changed, you can merge in. Everything was about Moshe. Once there was a thing. Now, how did the structure change? Murmuring. He felt overwhelmed. Who's to say that that overwhelming wasn't also pushed for him to ask for a structure change? Now, the structure of Yahweh's house has changed. And immediately, she goes in. Now go to Numbers 13, 1 through 3.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Send you men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall you send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moshe, by the commandment of Yahweh, sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel.
Now, if you go from Numbers 11, Numbers 12, Numbers 13, you say, okay, it was Yahweh's idea to send these spies. That's what you think. This is why you got to go back through things, right? Now, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1. Because what you're going to find is sometimes Yahweh gives you a broad synopsis of some things. But then there's situations where some detail starts coming. Deuteronomy chapter 1, and let's start it at verse 19.
Verse 19. And when he departed from Horeb, he went through all that great and terrible wilderness, which they saw by the way of the mountains of the Amorites, as Yahweh our Elohim commanded us. And we came to Kadesh Barnea. And I said unto you, you are come unto the mountain of the Amorites, which Yahweh our Elohim does give unto us. Behold, Yahweh your El has set the land before you. Go up and possess it, as Yahweh Elohim of your fathers has said unto you. Fear not, neither be discouraged.
Now, this is where it starts to get interesting, because you understand that Yahweh has done all these great things. This is where fear paralyzes us. Okay, Yahweh has traveled with a cloud and a pillar of fire. He has parted the waters. He has done all of these things. He has defeated the Egyptian man gods for us, right? But now we ask for some spies to go and see the land. He's automatically saying, go take the land. Keep reading.
And you came near unto me, every one of you.
Listen.
And said, we will send men before us, and they shall search us out the land, and bring us word again by what way we must go up, and into what cities we shall come.
That was the people's idea. See how Moshe, see how you get tricked? Now, it said, Yahweh said, go and do this. Yeah, he went right to the end. Yahweh said that after he went to him. So you got to be careful. Even when you're in charge, people will come and slickly try to give you their desires. And you will be pushing a plan that ain't your own. Here go Moshe. He said, every last one of you came and asked me about sending men. What we need to see the land for? If Yahweh said he gonna give it to us, what I need to see who I'm finna hit in the mouth. I see him when I hit him in the mouth. Go ahead.
You know, when you think about it, Yahweh had already said it's a land I spied out for you.
I already saw it.
Yep.
What I need you to see it for? This is their fear talking. Go ahead.
And the saying pleased me well. And I took 12 men of you, one of a tribe.
You see that? When the saying pleased him, he went to his father. This was not his idea, but he brought an idea that was not his. Now let me tell you about slick individuals when they give you their idea. You know when it failed, it's yours. You do understand that, right? You do understand when it failed, it's yours. When it works, it's theirs. Go ahead.
And they turned and went up into the mountain and came onto the valley of Eshcol and searched it out. And they took of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down onto us and brought us word again and said, it is a good land which Yahweh our Elohim does give us. Notwithstanding, you would not go up, but rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh your El.
Right, they were already looking for a reason to rebel. That's why they sent the spies. So the whole thing was a setup. Without y'all going, we don't really have a reason to say we can't go. So We're going to set up this plan. You got to see the seeds of deception. Set it up. From Numbers 11 to 12 to 13 to here. It is being set up. We really don't want to go. But we need a reason to disguise why we don't want to go. Go ahead.
And you murmured in your tents and said, because Yahweh hated us, he has brought us forth out of the land of Egypt.
Now Yahweh's being questioned. Now his motive, the motive of the Almighty Elohim is now questioned because we feel some type of way. And we orchestrated the whole plan so that we can present our excuse. Go ahead.
To deliver us into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Whither shall we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our heart, saying, the people is greater and taller than we.
Our brethren have discouraged our heart. That's what you wanted to send them for. You sent them there for discouragement. You didn't send them there for encouragement. Why do I need encouragement if I got a cloud and a pillar of fire? What other encouragement do I need? Elohim done start talking. We heard about all this great stuff that was done. What other encouragement I need? And then you need encouragement from men. You need encouragement from an earthly man. And you have received all these things from Elohim. No, you didn't want encouragement. You wanted discouragement. That's what you wanted. You wanted a cloak for your sin. You wanted a reason to justify what you didn't want to do in the beginning. Go ahead.
The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of the Anakims there. Then I said unto you, dread not, neither be afraid of them. Yahweh your El, which goes before you, he shall fight for you.
Now, you know if you just got there and they were there, you ain't got no choice but to fight. But see, sometimes we so damn nosy, we want to know everything. And that's what get us in trouble. Now you know something too early. You wasn't supposed to see the giants until you were there. But here go that, I want to know everything before I make a step. Yeah, it's good to plan. But there's certain things that you're going to plan so much, you're going to plan yourself right out of Yahweh's grace. You weren't supposed to see them people. Now you got fear in your heart. Go ahead.
According to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes.
Right. Didn't I already do this before you? Why we back here again? Now you whining and scared? We done already been through this. But I knew this is what you wanted when you said, let somebody go over there and look at it and come back and tell us. That's the beginning of set us up a king. Right. Go ahead.
And in the wilderness, where you have seen how that Yahweh your Elohim bear you, as a man does bear his son, in all the way that you went, until you came unto this place. Yet in this thing, you did not believe Yahweh your Elohim.
You did not believe Yahweh your Elohim. That was the whole reason for setting up a whole nother structure. That's what the spies were set up for, because they didn't believe Yahweh. When you get right down to it, the individuals who have all these issues, because they don't believe Yahweh. So now let's change this. But the change is only meant to find a cloak for what they already didn't want to do. Go ahead.
Who went in the way before you, to search you out a place to pitch your tents in fire by night, to show you by what way you should go, and in a cloud by day.
But you need to see the land though. But you need to physically see the land with your own eyes. You don't believe. The reason you needed to see it because you didn't believe. Go ahead.
And Yahweh heard the voice of your words and was angry and swore, saying, surely there shall not one of these men of this evil generation see that good land, which I swear to give unto your fathers.
Right. He already knew that when they set up. When they was setting up the foundation of their betrayal. Moshe didn't see it, but Yahweh did. You know, all right. So you gonna come to me and you gonna ask me for these people. You do know they want to kill you, right? But you bringing their business plan to me. You bringing it to me. Okay. All right, let's do it then. Let's go ahead and do it. Go ahead and go choose you out men. Yeah, let's do it. Choose you out some men and let them go ahead and search out the land. You don't realize these people getting ready to kill you, do you? You think them your friends? Go ahead.
Save Caleb the son of Yephani. He shall see it. And to him will I give the land that he has trodden upon, and to his children, because he has wholly followed Yahweh. Also Yahweh was angry with me for your sake, saying, you also shall not go in thither. But Yahshua the son of Nun, which stands before you, he shall go in thither. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it.
Yahweh was angry with me. Why? Because I let y'all influence me too much. Y'all get angry and start whining with me. I whine to Yahweh. He changed the business structure. Y'all keep coming at me. I go to whine to Yahweh. He changed the business structure again. Go ahead.
Moreover, your little ones, which you said should be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it.
So I'm going to make your lie the truth. Your lie was that it was about your little ones when you didn't really believe me from the beginning. So your lie said that, oh, he brought our little ones out here to die. Because you put the little ones in the lie, the little ones are the one that I'm going to let go through, and you going to die out here. Not your kids. Your kids not going to die out here. You going to die out here. Go ahead.
But as for you, turn you, and take your journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. Then you answered and said unto me, we have sinned against Yahweh. We will go up and fight according to all that Yahweh our Elohim commanded us. And when you had girded on every man his weapons of war, you were ready to go up into the hill.
See, the demands of Yahweh have a time limit. You don't get to follow after you have denied. After you have denied him, you're going to have to sit in that denial. Wait for the punishment of that denial. Then you get an opportunity to sit again. After they have denied and now they have been chastised, now they ready to go deal with this. Here's the problem. That same power that Yahweh will allow you to borrow of his, you don't get to have access to that anymore because of your disobedience. But now they think that they can go up. No. He took his power back. See, there's things that people may have been able to succeed in before because he allowed them to borrow of his power. Once they went disobedient, he has taken his power back. And they're going to notice bit by bit, the other things that were okay are going to fail miserably. Why? Because he took his power back. See, he only lets you borrow of his power because of what you were doing in his place. Once that is removed, oh, well, give me this back. You don't need this power. I'm going to give that to the new guy who does that. You don't leave and take the power with you. The power is for the job. The power wasn't for you to feel good. The power was for the job. So now, they believe that they can now follow him and do whatever. Read.
And Yahweh said unto me, say unto them, go not up, neither fight, for I'm not among you. Lest you be smitten before your enemies.
I have taken my power back. We don't watch read point after point where they were able to seize upon the power of Yahweh and Yahshua. As long as they stood in the right place, they had the power. Once you step out of place, that power is no longer available unto you. Go ahead.
So I spake unto you, and you would not hear, but rebelled against the commandment of Yahweh, and went presumptuously up into the hill.
You were warned. Go ahead.
And the Amorites, which dwelled in that mountain, came out against you.
You were able to succeed in this stuff easily before. That's because It was the comeliness of his power that rested upon you. But you don't have access to that now. Go ahead.
And chased you as bees do, and destroyed you in Seir, even unto Hormah. And you returned and wept before Yahweh. But Yahweh would not hearken to your voice,
Right.
nor give ear unto you.
You can cry unto Yahweh, he's not listening to you. When you stepped away from his foundation, he pulled his power back. See, from the beginning of this book, the promises were always conditional. He didn't give us no blank Israel check that you can go and sign and cash and buy anything you want in the earth. No. He gave us conditional promises. That means there's some stuff that you have to do. Go ahead.
So you abode in Kadesh many days, according unto the days that you abode there.
All right. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16. See, although our fathers offered many sacrifices, the thing that Yahweh wanted us to sacrifice the most was right here inside of us the whole time. That's your biggest sacrifice. Just as Yahshua shed blood and had to anoint the altar with his own blood, we got to kill off that old man. And the problem is, that old man, every time we strike one blow at him, then we turn around and put some ointment on him and try to save him.
Yes, sir.
We try to kill him and then try to resuscitate him all at the same time. So now you making the job take longer. Proverbs chapter 16, and let's start that at verse 1.
The preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes.
All the ways of a man is clean in his own eyes, especially when we got arrogance on our side. And see, some of us got arrogance double fold. We already come and we got the pride of whatever, where we come from. Then we turn around and move to an arrogant place, and now we got arrogant on top of arrogance. So all our ways clean in our own eyes. But you got to go look at something that's greater than you and examine those ways. Go ahead.
But Yahweh weighs the spirits. Commit your works unto Yahweh, and your thoughts shall be established. Yahweh has made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil.
Listen, commit your works unto Yahweh, and your thoughts shall be established. It's our thoughts that be killing us. It's our thoughts that be murdering us. That stuff that came out of your mouth was first a thought in your mind. Those things that cause you to do certain things were first a thought in your mind. Why are those thoughts slaying you? Because your works ain't committed unto Yahweh. Go ahead.
Everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to Yahweh. Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished. By mercy and truth, lawlessness is purged, and by the fear of Yahweh, men depart from evil. When a man's ways please Yahweh, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him.
Right. When a man's ways please Yahweh, he will make your enemies say, you know what? I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that you can get this place. You trying to set up a place for your God? You trying to set up a place? You know what? I'm going to do some stuff I don't normally do. Right. But those things that we doing ain't things that we trying to do for ourselves either. Understand that? People don't understand the difference. Go ahead.
Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without right.
Uh-huh.
A man's heart deviseth his way, but Yahweh directs his steps. A divine sentence is in the lips of the king. His mouth transgress not in judgment. A just weight and balance are Yahweh's. All the weights of the bag are his work. It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speaks right. The wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it.
A wise man know not to upset the king. A wise man will say, hey, bro, I wouldn't do that if I was you. Bro, that don't look like a good path that you're going down right there. A wise man know not to go into a business and say, what a CEO at? I want to give him a piece of my mind. I wouldn't do that. You still planning on working here? I wouldn't do that if I was you. Go ahead.
In the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favor is as a cloud of the latter rain. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keeps his way preserves his soul. Pride goes before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is, to be of an humble spirit with the lowly, than to divide the spoil with the proud.
Right, but we think that we were better off when we had substance, not understanding that this is where you at your best, because this is the way he can reach your heart. He couldn't reach you before. And we don't see that. We want to get as much as we can possibly get. Sometimes that's the very thing that makes us unreachable. And for different people, that's a different amount. Go ahead.
He that handles a matter wisely shall find good, and whoso trusts in Yahweh, happy is he. The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increase learning. Understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that has it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth, and adds learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as an honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones. There is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death.
The last thing you want to do is find that out at the end. That there was a way that seemed right to you, and then you find out that it wasn't right. What led you to believe that it was right all that time? You have to ask yourself, how does one get to a point where you might think that you have upset one individual and find out you have upset every individual in the room? How did you get that far? How much arrogancy were you operating in? That means there's some sacrifices that has to happen up in here. Go ahead.
He that labors for himself, for his mouth craves it of him. An ungodly man digs up evil, and in his lips there is as a burning fire. A froward man sows strife, and a whisperer separates chief friends.
Right, but it didn't have to be, because once the whisperer came to you, you were supposed to nip it in the bud. The whisperer wasn't supposed to be able to separate chief friends, because as soon as they whispered it to you, you were supposed to go, hey, let's go ahead and take care of this business. We can end it today. But you find out by the time things come out, they've been going on for years. So you've been sitting here listening to this whispering for 2 years? That's your fault. You have to ask yourself, why certain individuals in the room hadn't been whispered to? Why is it that certain people find out all of it at one time? Like, what happened? They knew not to go whisper to them. Now, why did they know that? Go ahead.
A violent man enticeth his neighbor, and leads him into the way that is not good. He shuts his eyes to devise froward things. Moving his lips, he brings evil to pass. The hoary head is a crown of glory.
The hoary head is a crown of glory. This is that thing where you have people throwing around the title of elder, because they have a hoary head. A hoary head is a gray head. The gray head is a crown of glory. Go ahead.
If it be found in the way of righteousness.
If. That's the biggest word in that sentence. If. You don't get to walk around in the honor of being an elder, but you don't have any other things that's supposed to be there. And then there's the thing of your time clock. Where your time card at? Because you ain't just an elder because you're 50. You're supposed to have put in 20 years. Let me see your time sheet. Simple request. Call me HR. Simple request. I just need to see your time card. I didn't ask a lot. I just want to see your time card. Ain't that what they ask? When you go to human resources and you say, I should have 3 weeks of vacation. They say, well, no, you get 1 week when you've been here 5 years. You get 2 weeks when you've been here 10. Now, for you to get 3 weeks of vacation, you must have been here for a while. Let me see your time card. Huh? Right. So when you say something to me, don't think I'm being funny. Let me see your time card. I need to see what's on your sheet. I mean, clearly I can see if you're old. I'm not questioning your oldness.
Come on.
I'm questioning your time clock. I just want to see your punch ins. When you punch in and out. Because that's what the book said. See, when you saw that first baptism that we had, that 2011, that was a dude and a half ago. Y'all saw that little dude that was in that picture? That's my time card. That's my time. See, I can show you my time card. I ain't just talking to be talking. So when you tell me you're that, I ain't got no problem with that. Just let me see your time card. Simple HR request. Go ahead, bro.
That was it.
That was it?
Yep.
All right. Praise Yahweh for giving us, the opportunity to hear his word and giving us a little house. It is a little house, but it's our little house, whereby we can gather together to keep his holy days, his new moons, his Shabbats. But do understand, as we grow and do things, so does the adversary, the devil, grow in how he comes at us. So then that means that we have to be tighter in dealing with the things that we began to deal with. So I know sometimes, it upset people when there are changes to be made. But you can't just walk in the door and just say, you know what, I'm going to jump in this department. I'm going to jump in this department. No, I meant it when I said when you first walking in the door, you own spoons and forks. You start at the left side of the room and work your way around. You don't just come and jump into any department that you see. No. I don't care if you work for WSB TV and you've been running the studio for 20 years. If you come in tomorrow, you own spoons and forks. You own flows and doughs. And you work your way around. And then you get in. We have to learn from our mistakes. We can't keep making them. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.